How are you? It's 14 April 2020. Right now I'm in the middle of putting together clips of old videos that I've made for this video called All I Can Say.
Ways to where I can feel the urgency and the immediacy like I could a couple of years ago of getting this information out to others. But now, in this moment, even more so.
I title it All I Can Say is because I feel like I have already said all I can say to try and help. So those clips will hopefully do that job. You can see too. And that's how all of this gets stopped. In a good way. Or to put right in a good way without continuing down this path of darkness. Because this is a controlled collapse and reordering of society that we're living.
It was so deep when my body was quitting and I felt like I was going out in such a way that I couldn't go out because I didn't understand anything that was going on. I didn't understand how I got into that point on the floor where I was in that pit of darkness, where that awakening really was truly for me going inside myself into the pit of hell that I had created and was created and that I was trying to live with. Which is what I came to realize was the very thing that was killing me, because that hell was me being cut off from my own spirit, from God.
You believe you are owned and you are property of that corporation for your energy to be used and sold and traded on the market of that belief that others hold in your potential because you're a slave. That is the Admiralty Maritime Law that goes further back. It's Lex Mercatoria, the law merchant. Evidence of it is the birth certificate that none of us were told about what any of that was. Numbers. What I'm trying to convey is that there are ritual within ritual within ritual playing out right now. And they're coming to completion and fruition in very dark ways. I hope the video clips that follow can try and give you some of the information you might need to heal from what's already happened, see what's happening, what's going on, realize the game's being played with all, and to just be able to simply not participate and let others know what's happening so they cannot participate. You can choose to believe that everything is normal and natural, that the sky, the way it looks, that's normal. Or you can choose to know that that is geoengineering and the sky is being filled with poisons and toxins, to include but not limited to things like aluminum, barium, strontium, those metals. Those metals are then breathed in and collect on the ground because it all comes down. There's also such things in some of the spray from time to time, and you can look these things up to know, but vaccines, different components like desiccated red blood cells, technological components, all these things can be known. You can choose to believe that this is normal and natural, but I'm here to tell you, you need to know that it's not. You need to know that you are under a daily, what amounts to a biological and chemical attack that's being conducted on you on purpose, on all of us, on all life. It's not just the animals that breathe these things in and all these funguses and metals get inside the body and then have to be dealt with. Things that tend to make one have less cognitive function because of the metals that seep in and get through the blood-brain barrier. Makes those signals of thoughts and emotion that trigger and spark within the brain get out of control. And if not realized, those are acted upon impulsively. That's why you have a society in this chaotic state of mind inside, because it's not only the stuff they're breathing every day that's increasing exponentially, it's also the things they've already been injected with. because they choose to believe the authority figures that say these vaccines are good for them, because they have not yet chosen to know for themselves what those vaccines really are, what the ingredients really are in the vaccines, and what they do. Because when you're already cut off, it is so hard, but it takes focus and attention and will, and you can overcome the damage that they have done to all of us and are doing. And when that's realized and recognized, you can correct yourself and your thought processes and get these toxins out of the body and the brain, and you can think, feel, and comprehend clearly. Toward the wall, but just talking about how just deeply important these things are, and how these things aren't funny, and how this whole society is sick and been made sick, and they can't control themselves, and they simply don't know why. And it's simply because they keep following along and feeding these addictions. And my words they came out maybe in a not constructive way, but in more of a way that in here I needed for what I've been trying to say to be felt by the out there, to others around me, and because it's important. And this is the time to make a choice, truly. And each of us are being put into the position where we will be forced to make a choice. And I've already made mine very clearly. I feel this is very important for other reasons as well. I heard the mention of Comet Atlas. A few years ago, and early in my videos, I had an experience of watching a comet, so-called comet, in the sky. And then I went pretty deep into what that might have been, what that might have meant. Therefore, signs of luminaries in the sky, in the heavens. Therefore, signs. So when I hear these things start to be twisted, and that's something I spoke about and put into a video called the Philosopher's Stone Atlas. And what does that mean inside? Atlas is also the top vertebrae of your spine that holds your skull, your cranium, that you can use to perceive the cosmos, within and without. Atlas holds the mind. Atlas perceives what your senses perceive. Among other things, you are Atlas. Let this begin the map, the Philosopher's Stone. The outer circle is what you do with this knowledge in this world. It represents a soul's time here from start to finish. It is the sun and moon on their daily path above us and the stars above them. It is the all we are able to perceive of the all's creation. It is the centrifugal point of divergence. It is the torus. It is the circle they cannot square, as are you. The lines of the body with the arms outstretched make a cross, the mark of an upright man or woman. You are meant to realize all that spiritually entails, as you are the cross you must bear. The heart, spirit, and mind magnetically resonate from your spine. The phoenix does not rise from the ashes. The phoenix rises from the center, in the macrocosm and the microcosm. The phoenix is your soul blooming to life from within, where once suppressed, to be reborn anew. Now, so when that kind of sorcery is playing out too, sorcery of the mind and that illusion of space, and folks that don't have any kind of interrelating information for these myths or archetypes or stories, and know how so many of these things interrelate to your own biology, your own physiology, to you, your own journey, your own physical and metaphysical journey. It's how they trick you and keep you compartmentalized in your psyche and keep you from realizing your true self. I'm not saying you're a comet. I'm not saying you're a star. I'm not saying you're a titan called Atlas. I'm saying that the associated things with those myths have very real meanings, such as Atlas being the titan of philosophy. Well, one that knows that top vertebrae of their spine, the Atlas vertebrae, does hold the cranium that one can use to consider the cosmos. You can know also in your heart that you're not a titan, you are not God. You're not an angel, you're not a demon, you're a man or woman that's been given the gift to consider these things and interrelate these things and see the divinity in yourself and in creation and in those around you in a good, balanced, harmonious way. I feel this is very important. Not just for that, because also there's a conjunction later this year, and I'm not trying to get into foretelling the future or prophesizing. I'm not. But the conjunction later this year, so not to get into a whole bunch of crazy stuff, I see two big kind of archetypal things happening with the Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto conjunction. So what I say very well might not line up with things that you've looked at or considered or feel for yourself. And that's fine. That's cool, because I'm not saying I'm right or correct about anything. So let me get into this. Where I'll start at the bottom of the spine, or Saturn, the root chakra. For me, it was tying. Now I'm speaking of these as 7 luminaries, 7 energies. 7 energies above that all operate on their own frequency. And the vibrations they pass to us down here in our physiology, our bioelectromagnetic physiology, can pick up and perceive the vibrations of everything around down here and up there, is what I felt inside. So starting with Saturn at the bottom, Saturn or Satan or Chronos or time or the taskmaster, however you might want to label it, that luminary, that energy, to me, it was the recognition at the bottom, the red, the root chakra, base of my spine. That was my time here. My time in physicality was represented by that. How I chose to spend my time, that's what I had to come to realize I was doing wrong. I was misusing that energy. So that just being the physical body's existence here, that can tie into the rings, materialism, the this and that, if you go that path and you get locked into that repetitive cycle of that path. And it doesn't have to be that. Time can be spent here more wisely. So moving up from that, the solar plexus chakra, the yellow for me, Jupiter there. Why Jupiter? Jupiter, the gas giant. The gas giant, why? Now, not as they describe, because of the gases created within my solar plexus area from my digestive system, from the microflora and fauna, the life forms that inhabit and break down the whole food plant-based diet I consume now that I learn to use that energy correctly and feed it the right energy to resonate in harmony with that energy of Jupiter. So in my solar plexus filled with good energy, I can produce good action. Those being the archetypes: Saturn, Satan, Jupiter, Jesus or Zeus. But really, don't get hung up on the labels. What I see is a choice coming, because it's being physically played out on the ground. A very real choice everyone is being funneled into to accept the beast system, the darkness, Satan, Saturn, locked in cycles of time, materialism, because you make that choice to follow along with that route. and all that's associated with that. So that luminary, you can't put blame on like that. Why would you? Because the blame falls within each of us for our own thoughts and our actions and our behaviors. So that, and associated with that, and the cube, and, well, the square, the cube, the, you know, all the nonsense, it boils down to compartmentalization, because energy doesn't work like that.
All right, magic words. Have you noticed, had you heard, that words are spells and spells are words? They make you think, they make you act. They can make you feel as if attacked. Hocus pocus weaves the spell, deep within where feelings dwell. Good or evil, it's hard to tell, as misused labels add to the spell. Trigger, trigger, magic word, feel deep inside as innards stir. The light of truth in your darkest hell, that is where the spirit dwells. No inner hell need exist. The experience was words used as magic tricks. True love for you is in your heart to heal the soul and inner parts. Not of mind, not of words. That is how life's magic stirs. An ancient soul, an inner child. It feels beautiful just to smile. I like how that one came together. I really do.
Any label of division you want to put on it, attach a few of these to it, send it on its way. Let it do its work. All of it is work being done for the ones that create this. The money changers of Babylon. It goes all the way back. That's why there's a pyramid. Novus Adoris Seclorum. The new secular order. All of this is different secular orders, different sects fighting against each other. That spawned from back in Babylon, the Pharisees. The money changers split it up. The moon, the sun, the stars, Isis, Ra, the El, Elohim, Israel. That was created in 1948. There's a pyramid on the back that goes back to the Pharisees, that goes back to the money changers. Started to be built, according to the numbers at the bottom, 1776, of course. When this place was taken over, the indigenous folks slaughtered. And all the descendants thereafter would be a bunch of disconnected folks with no heritage to tie back to. And this pyramid could be built. Israel 1948, why would that be important? Maybe it lines up with the 72 solid bricks in this pyramid. The top brick, the capstone, being that eye. It's not the eye of providence. It is the one eye being bathed in darkness, the dark light.
Well, one of those. All right, well, I guess it disconnected for a second. But anyway, I was going to say, yeah, like one of those, magic words, those trigger words, those labels. Those labels have been really held on to by someone identifying themselves as one of these labels. Then they can be triggered to act out according to what the definition of that label is to them. And to anything that opposes that label and that definition they might hold in their mind now becomes their enemy. So much division has been created with just labels in these different groups and these ists and isms. You know what I mean?
Say an ass you are. Because it's not about believing what I say. It's about knowing that there is something to what I'm trying to convey, and then going on one's own, deep on one's own, with one's own energy and willpower to finally reflect and unify and individualize into one's own who, what, why they are in a spiritual way, manifested here in physical form as a man or woman in creation. And please do it soon, because the children are being poisoned their minds, their bodies, their spirits burnt out of them at such an alarming rate. If you can't see how disgusting the programming and the indoctrination is in getting with confusing them confusing them on their own gender, on what they are at such a fundamental level right off the bat, so they have no foundation, like I grew up with no foundation of actual logic, actual creativity, and actual reason in my mind, because my mind was scrambled with the nonsense I was taught and indoctrinated with after I was poisoned. That's what's happening on a massive scale, very fast. Why? Because we're right at the end of this place being the corporate United States, being brought down purposely, as was the plan all along, to be the scapegoat I spoke of. These waters, as they attempt to move this age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius with this witch's brew cauldron of toxins that they've turned all the natural water into by now, it's the Noahide laws. That's the new secular order. That's the us versus them. That's the you are not divine, we are divine. You are the slaves, you are the animals. That's what's coming on the waters next. Worship. Because all that we can see still is all part of the Creator's creation that we're all in. So don't get trapped, even with the things I spoke about, a choice between good and evil, Saturn, Jupiter. Don't get trapped in that. You have to make a choice with these kinds of labels. No. Because goodness and evil, both, they manifest within each and every man, woman, and child. Each and every man, woman, and child can choose to realize, recognize that, and gain control and mastery, self-mastery over their own darkness inside. Healing from that darkness and living in the light. And I feel like that choice that's physically being forced, technologically, with poison injections and things, that will cause the real death and destruction, that's coming. That's later. That's what's coming shortly. And it very well may be this year. I've had that feeling deep within me, and I've tried to express it. This is called truth to power. Sorry. To the powers whom think they be, I tell you now, you control not me, not I, nor those that know. No man, no woman with moral heart and soul. Parental systems run by dualistic minds, false authority of the spiritually blind. To mimic and usurp protection and care, indoctrinated slaves of the belief put there. Even now, what do I see but the next iteration of psychotic schemes? The flat earth society is likely involved to perpetuate the theory of gravity as illusory law, twisting and perverting natural law. The natural law society pushes Noahide laws, disguised as morality for the Goyim slaves, as soulless shells strive for the end of days. I see the lie, see through it all. Dark builders built this place to fall. Can those not see that ride the goat, still trapped in lies that others spoke? Whichever way, it matters not. This works off consent, and you have it not. This talk of animal sacrifice culminating some talks in September what? 25th to 27th, something like that, on the Mount of Olives, after the talk of how the Noahide laws are incumbent on all humanity to follow this, that, and the other. That's the false version of morality. How could I say such a thing? Well, very simply, when you just look into it and you say, oh, they're inviting 70 world leaders, when if you already know what these systems of control have been all along, you see through it for what it is. And that is simply the morphing of the control systems into yet another, a more simplified version that the Bible has been used as a playbook to push all along. That's what has been happening. That's what's happening out there. That's why the push for this endless war in the Middle East to culminate in this World War III Gog-Magog war. Why? Well, so this place can be used as the next scapegoat, so to speak, for all the destruction that this place, being the United States, this corporation of the United States, has been taught to cause and create. That's why there's over 100 bases spread across this plane. It's not to protect folks here, folks that live here. I thought I was doing so, but now I realize the bigger and deeper picture of what it is, and it's not. It was there to set us all up, to create this havoc and destruction that would cause this major cataclysm that can be brought to bear. And then we can be used here, this country, as the next scapegoat. That's why the poisoning is getting worse in the air, in the water, in the ground. The plants are dying. They're getting holes in them. You'll be able to see. They're word sorcerers. They're linguistic artists that put out false, contradictory information to create false images in the mind to give you a false perception of yourself in reality and what it all means. So each has to snap out of that on their own and grow up on their own. Let me start with that 70 nation ritual. I spoke about it before it happened, as did many others. I feel like I need to speak about it again after it has happened. And what I see is that ritual was a spit in the face to creation, to God, to life. Those rituals are designed to keep us from our core, our heart, actually knowing and feeling what morality is, because a moral individual that felt the need and the knowing to protect and care for life, would feel in their heart there's a sick, twisted, demented problem going on. When representatives saying they represent masses of other men and women in this world can show up to a ritual right out in the open and cut the throat of an innocent life taken from its mother, then lit on fire and sacrificed. Not to the Creator. You are sacrificing it to their God, the gods of the Pharisees, the same darkness that's been ruling for generations, that's just been changing names because it creates all the costumes for folk to wear. So think about it. Really, systems of the Pharisees, the Talmud, the system of usury, the fractional reserve banking system, the system of usury, because it is a false exchange of currency or energy that keeps us all enslaved. So think about this, please, and stop following these actors in costumes that are leading you down a path of darkness. Because each of us, men, women, and children, can know and feel that there is something very, very wrong, and can walk in a path of goodness and morality and know it and not have to have a mediator. Say it's it's an energy more of good. It's simple. It's that simple. It's so hard to put something so simply for others to understand or for them to comprehend when their mind is so polluted and diluted and conflated with all kinds of crazy imagery. and lacking knowledge of who and what and why they are. Anyway, I feel that's why it's important for me to mention these things, that is what I feel is coming. I say it like that because a few years ago when I first saw and considered what a comet was and things, and was taking pictures and then went really deep into maybe the video clips will put it a little bit more clear. I feel like it is a sign, and it's important to consider. So not worship.
I wanted to share. It's called Out of Words. I have not the words to complete this fight, to bring the world from darkest night. It is the light they cannot see, the spark of life that is their being. They are lost in a blinded state. Egoic labels the actors fake. Slaves made out of others' belief. Of their own soul, they became the thief. All born as slaves due to others' greed, and off that greed they were taught to feed. They must break from what's been taught, learn to form organic thought. They must know, not just believe, moral self-governance can be achieved. It is truly our natural state, heart and mind for creation's sake. The Most High looks within us all to observe us heal our spiritual flaws. Many have yet to go in there, as their physical ailments are much to bear. Consume the plants, consume the herbs, do not consume the beasts and birds. Man's authority outside does not exist. Costumes, labels, and belief are the magic trick. Align perception with what you truly are. Break out of the illusory mental bars. Feel your heart, find your soul. Truth is objective, and you are to know. After all, it's why we're here. Past and present are very clear. How we move forward is how we leave the night, to feel the wrong and become what's right. I have bared my heart, bared my soul, left in videos so you might know. What I have spoken is my own map. Your inner path may not be as black. The inner path must be walked alone, through past thought and action to trace back to soul. With full acceptance, responsibility gained, bring the light to life, reconcile the pain. Become the I in what you thought was you, living man or woman with spirit renewed. Align the heart, align the mind, the moral spirit flows through the spine. Use every moment with intent and care. The deceptions here are much to bear. Know there's a creator, feel with every sense. That will get one off the fence. When off the fence and on the path, you won't look back and be deeply glad. Safe journeys to you, men and women all. May we all overcome our collective fall. Fast healing to you, men and women all. Walk the path of repentance to heal it all.
So I hope you can get something from this video. I hope I haven't gone on too long here to make you already turn it off. Thank you for listening. Feel free to share.